Alright, everybody, welcome back to the Monday Night Wars. This is the WCW side. First, want to apologize for the lighting. If there's a neon light from this orange lamp that I got sitting near me, we have electrical problems in my apartment right now. So for this recording and a couple others, there might be this lighting, but the lighting will get back to what it usually is in future videos. So sorry about the lighting in this video. Just had to do that little disclaimer right there before I get into my review. The lighting will come back to normal as soon as the electricity in this building becomes a little bit more adequate. Some lights work, some lights don't. It's really weird. Anyways, it will get back to normal. We're here on July 8th, 1996, the 40th week of the Monday Night Wars, the 43rd episode of Nitro, but the 40th week they went head-to-head. Nitro beats Raw for the 4th week in a row with a rating of 3.5 to 2.5. This was the night after the Bash at the Beach where Hulk Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO. It beat Raw by 1 whole point. So through 40 weeks now, Nitro has 21 wins. WWF has 17 wins and 2 draws. So a 21, 17, and 2 record for WCW going into the 40th week. So including the 40th week, which is a 3.5 rating for this episode. It was brought to you by the Disney MGMStudios. And it's from the Disney MGMStudios, rather, from Orlando, Florida. This is the first Nitro that was outside. Bischoff and Bobby the Brain do the second half, while Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko do the first half. They do a quick recap of Bash at the Beach, where Hogan is the third man. He turns on WCW by dropping his leg on the Macho Man. Hollywood Hogan says this is a new world order of professional wrestling, and the fans can stick it. So what does this mean for WCW? Well, let's find out. They talk about the Bash at the Beach, of course, as they open up the show. They say they'll have pictures of it later in the night. This is where they used to do pictures only for pay-per-views. So they made sure pay-per-views were just a must-see thing because you couldn't see any live footage. They never gave any live footage back in the 90s. They always only just did pictures because they're like, you want to see the pay-per-view, you have to buy the pay-per-view. And back then, they were worth buying. First match of the night on Nitro is Rey Mysterio Jr. challenging Dean Malenko for the Cruiserweight title. This comes off the heels of Rey Mysterio's win over Psychosis at the at the Bash at the Beach, which is one of the best openers and one of the best matches I've ever seen. It's 4.5 stars for my rating. I believe Meltzer gave it around that too. Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds, the defending champion. The two circle each other. Malenko grounds Rey like he wanted to all match. Take him off his vertical base. Slow the high-flying aerial attack off. Head scissors take over by Mysterio into an arm drag and a standing switch. Malenko tried to hit a suplex, but Rey landed on his feet. Malenko springboarded, but Malenko catches him. Reversal after reversal. Nice drop kick by Rey. Then another springboard drop kick to Malenko, and he gets a near fall. Dean Malenko turned Rey around and got a 2 count as for he hit an inverted slam, and then a standing suplex by Malenko. Lateral press and a long 2. Malenko with a reverse surfboard, torquing the knee at the point of his spine. Back from a commercial. Malenko doing an excellent job grounding the challenger. Double underhook pump handle slam by Malenko with submission holds, but Mysterio Jr. with a roll up out of nowhere. Malenko throwing Mysterio Jr. to the ropes. Near the end here, Dean hanging him up in the tree of woe. He had a drop kick to the face, and then a reverse chin lock into a body scissors. Dean Malenko with a leg scissors now as he goes from top to bottom, extremity-wise. Rey gets to the ropes. Malenko has to drop the hold. A surfboard splash on the floor. A gutbuster nearing the end here from the top ropes, and Rey kicks out. Literally too fast to keep up with all the action, but a textbook belly-to-belly over-the-head suplex by Malenko. And then a Frankensteiner out of nowhere by Mysterio on the bridge, and he wins the match and the belt to become the new Cruiserweight champion at 3 stars and 3/4. I rate the match. Hurricane Rana into a pinning bridge got Malenko there. 3 stars and 3/4. My light is flickering in and out. If it comes back on, I'll just turn the lamp light off and we'll just keep going. And if it turns back off again, I'll turn the lamp back on. The Blue Bloods. Before we get to the Blue Bloods match, there's a vignette for Glacier. He's coming in. I remember some people thought he might have been the third man because they ran ads of Glacier coming soon, right after the Outsider segments. But they didn't know how Glacier would just be an undercard wrestler because all it said is coming soon, so you didn't know if this guy was going to be a main eventer or not. The Blue Bloods, Lord Steven Regal and Squire David Taylor. Squire, the word S-Q-U-I-R-E. I'm not sure what that means, but it's Squire David Taylor and the Lord Steven Regal with Earl Robert Eaton and Jeeves as the managers versus Big Bubba, the boss man, and Hugh Morris with Jimmy Hart. A tie-up, Hugh Morris pushes David Taylor into the corner. He missed a clothesline. Big Bubba came in with a standing headlock. Regal come down with a southpaw, left hands. Then off the ropes, he made an elbow drop. The Blue Broads brawled away, and they ended up winning at 3:08 as David Taylor covers Hugh Morris. A victory is a victory. Tenta went to the back with Trailer as the two teams brawled out to the backstage area. I gave it a 1.5 stars. Eddie Guerrero took on Psychosis next. Psychosis making his Nitro debut. He and Ray put on that 4.5-star match last night, as I mentioned. Now he takes on Guerrero. So 2 great nights of wrestling in a row for Psychosis. Any Guerrero match is a good match, at least good. Both men with tilt-a-whirl everythings. Arm drag takedowns, backbreakers, slides on the outside. Eddie chants as Guerrero with a side headlock takeover. Eddie's already won over the crowd with his great wrestling for the past year in WCW. Psychosis elbows out and shoulder block, leapfrog, and Psychosis sent Eddie out to the bottom rope. Psychosis with a somersault plancha off the top rope to the outside. Psychosis zeroes in on the shoulder, and Psychosis drove Eddie to the mat with a near fall. A sunset flip, and Eddie knocked him away. Eddie Guerrero with a superplex out of nowhere, and then Eddie Guerrero went upstairs with the frog splash. He ends up beating Psychosis at 8:33. I gave the match 3 stars. The Giant makes a good point in the interview. He said, as long as I have the world title, who cares what Hogan did? We're all okay as long as I'm the champ. It's a decent point by the Giant. The Steiner brothers, he was the world champion. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner, versus the Nasty Boys. Sorry about the light flickering in and out. It doesn't know what it wants to do. But I've spent enough time talking about that. So Scott Steiner carried the bulk of this match. He dragged Knobbs. Sags then tossed out Scott to the floor, so Rick Steiner had to come in and face Brian Knobbs. Tag team action was rough-nosed between these two teams. It was officially hour 2, so the pyros went off. Bischoff is now on commentary with Heenan. We see Colonel Robert Parker talking to Sister Sherry on the outside. Scott was in the ring brawling with the Nasty Boys, as that's their forte. Scott Steiner with a big boot and belly-to-belly suplex. Colonel Robert Parker whacked a Nasty Boy with his cane. Scott Steiner wins the match for the Steiners at 6:08. Scott wasn't aware that he get hit Knobbs with the cane, but they got the win no matter what over the Nasty Boys. Either way, regardless. So 2 stars for that match. Ric Flair with Deborah, Miss Elizabeth, and Woman versus Jim Powers for the U.S. title. Ric Flair beat Conan at Bash at the Beach for the title. This is his first defense. Sunset flip and a near fall. Flair strutted to the outside, took it to Jim Powers all match, and then it was just too much as the Horsemen came out to celebrate as Flair retains the title at 5:41 with a figure 4 leg lock. Flair popped champagne while Deborah, Mongo, Liz all talked with Mean Gene. Chris Benoit versus Sergeant Craig Pittman. Luger is hurt, so Benoit has to take on Pittman, the Pitbull, instead of Luger. Luger got hurt during the Hostile Takeover main event last night. Benoit hit with 2 German suplexes to Sergeant Craig Pittman. A go behind followed by one by Sergeant Craig Pittman. He chopped away at him, lifted his knee, and then Benoit hit the crossface and won at 2:43 with the crippler crossface. The 4 Horsemen theme hits again, and I give that match a 1.75 stars. The 4 Horsemen theme hits again as we have another Horseman in the ring, Arn Anderson taking on Sting. Sting with a shoulder tackle into Arn and a standing arm bar. He torques the arm. Arn reverses it. Arn in a control, and then Sting with some power moves, and Arn hits a Boston Crab to get out of the power moves. A black limo pulls up to Disney MGM. Who could it be? Could it be Hogan? Could it be the Outsiders? Maybe all of them. The Outsiders are then seen leaving the limo, making their way to the ring. Sting is unaware. Sting and Arn are caught off guard, but then they go at it, and Sting hits the Scorpion Deathlock for the victory at 12:18. After the match, the Outsiders get close to the ring. So Sting wins that match. I rated it at a 1.5 stars. After the match, the Outsiders tried to get close to the ring, as I said. So the show ends with Bischoff saying Mean Gene is going to try and get a word with the Outsiders. Sting gets on the mic and says he's not surprised about the Outsiders, but is very surprised at Hogan. Sting says, you've turned on the fans, and Savage says, times what I want to do by 9 million. The worst thing you could imagine, times it by 9 million, and that's what I want to do to you, Hogan. So again, Nitro won the wars in the ratings 3.5 to 2.5. I gave this episode of Nitro a 7 out of 10 because of the suspense throughout the night, the great Malenko Mysterio match. And next week is where the Hollywood Hogan is going to make his return as his debut with the NWO. So next week, that's the week we have to look forward to. So for Hogan's promo to cut on the fans and to start the New World Order. I'm excited for the next week's show. This week's show was good. 7 out of 10, like I said, 3.5 in the ratings to 2.